Here are 14 things to try if your PS5 DualSense controller is having a problem with charging. Let me know which one of these methods helped you, if any of them do. The first method is to make sure the controller is off. When it's on and it's charging, it may be eating away more energy than it's taking in. The easiest way to turn it off is to hold down the PlayStation button for about 10 seconds. You'll see the light go off. It could be that your battery isn't low enough to accept charging. Some sources say it has to be below 80% before it can begin charging. Apparently, this is a built-in feature to protect the life of the battery. If you want to see what the charge level is, hit the PlayStation button and look at the accessories icon. You'll see how many bars it has. It actually doesn't have a percent though, so it may not be that useful. Plus, people say that this meter is unreliable and doesn't accurately show the amount of charge, so take it as a grain of salt. Your controller has firmware on it, which can be updated, and doing so may resolve the issue. First, make sure your controller and console are on, and run any system update that's available, and fully install them. Then hit the PlayStation button, select Accessories, select your controller, choose Controller Settings, go down to the section called DualSense Wireless Controller Device Software and look out to the right. If there's an update available, it'll say so, and go ahead and run it. If for some reason you can't update your controller on the PS5, you can update it via a PC. You just have to download Sony's Firmware Updater app. There's a reset button on the back of the controller in this hole right here. Stick a needle or something else like one into it and hold it for 5 seconds. It'll turn off. Turn it on again and see if that helped. Unpair the Bluetooth connection and pair it back. Go to Settings, Accessories, General, Bluetooth Accessories. Delete your controller from the list by selecting it and hitting X, and then select OK. Then plug the controller into the system using a USB cord, hit the PlayStation button, and now it's set up again. If your issue is happening when the PS5 is in rest mode, check your rest mode settings. Go to Settings, System, Power Saving, Features available in rest mode, Supply power to USB port. Make sure it's not set to off. You can choose 3 hours, but you might as well choose always. Rebuild the PS5's database. Don't worry, no memory will be lost. Fully power down the machine, then press and hold the power button. Release it after you hear the second beep. There'll be one beep when you first press it, but there'll be another one 7 seconds later. Low resolution text will appear. Connect the controller with the USB cable and press the PlayStation button on the controller. Choose the option that says Clear Cache and Rebuild Database. That'll bring you to a second menu and just select Rebuild Database. It says it may take a while, but for me, it only took 1 minute. Hopefully that helped. If nothing you tried has worked so far, it's time to look at more physical aspects. The USB port on the front of your console may be the issue, so try using one of the ones on the back. If that didn't work, use a USB port that's on another device, like a PC or a wall adapter. This one is a long shot, but I found one person that said it worked. If you have your controller plugged in and it's not charging, unplug the side that goes into your controller and flip it the other way around. If nothing is working so far, try a different cable. It could be that yours is faulty. Note that there's one of those small USB-C ports on the front of the PS5, so you could try a USB-C to USB-C cord and do it that way. The USB-C port on the controller may have an issue. Inspect it and see if there's a piece of debris in it. If so, clean it up. It could be that the USB port is damaged, but there is another type of port on the bottom. The majority of charging stations use that other port, so go ahead and buy one and see if that works. If all else fails, swap out the battery for a new one. It involves taking apart your controller. I'm going to guide you, but there's a chance you'll ruin your controller from one of the tiny parts breaking as you go inside of it. Also, you'll have to find a replacement battery. One option would be to buy a broken DualSense controller off eBay and hope that the battery inside that one is a good one. Or you can buy a third-party battery off Amazon, which is what I'm going to do. You have to be very careful. The battery scene is shady on Amazon. Just make sure you're purchasing from a seller that has a good review score. It has legitimate reviews on it. To guide you to getting inside, I'm going to reuse some older video here, so my voice may sound different. You'll want to start by taking this black plate off. You'll need something to pry it off with, and that could be a flathead screwdriver. You can use something like this. You can also use a butter knife. You can also use a prying tool like this. You'll start with the handles and just pry the plate off from there. Note, if you're using the butter knife, don't use the whole blade, just use the end of it like this. Once you got them unsnapped from the handles, you can start working your way up toward the middle of the controller like this. To remove it, you'll want to pry it up at an angle like this. Next, you'll need to remove the R1 and L1 triggers. Each one has two hinges to it, one on the left side of the button and one on the right side of the button. So what you need to do is pry the left side and the right side, and just a warning, the button will go flying pretty far. Next, you need to do some unscrewing. You'll need a Phillips screwdriver. If you're looking for the exact size, you can use any of the sizes that are on the screen right there. There's one screw at the end of each handle, so take that one out. If the screw is being stubborn and won't turn, put a drop of water on it and let it soak, and also tap the screw. There's also a screw underneath each of the trigger buttons that you removed, so take out both of those. Now you'll have to separate the shell into two halves. Start with the sides. Stick your tool in there and just pry it so it starts to come apart. Then go to these two hinges in the middle of the controller and pry those loose. A flathead screwdriver works best here. Then go back out to the sides and continue prying. It's gonna feel very tight, but keep trying and be patient. If one of the hinges inside breaks or something, it's usually not a big deal. With the screws, you should be able to get the controller back together. With everything completely loose, you should be able to push on the trigger buttons and push the upper casing away from the lower casing. Now that we are inside, remove the old battery, which involves disconnecting the connector. There are two approaches. Some say to pull the three wires straight up, like this, and pop it out of the connector. The second way is to use a tool, or your fingers, and pry the connector apart. Note that there's a top and a bottom to that connector. You don't want to rip the whole thing off the board, so just make sure you're separating the two halves as you do this. Then plug in the new one. You may have to situate the battery a certain way for it to fit, because it may not match the exact size as the previous one. Well, hopefully one of those things worked. If that's the case, let me know which one did. If your DualSense controller is having a drift-related issue, I suggest you watch my video on how to fix that, which is on the screen in front of you. Goodbye, everybody.